Welcome to the Sooners Extra podcast. I'm Joe Mussatto, joined by our OU beat writer Colton Sulley. Colton, it is Selection Sunday. We know the bracket. OU will host Alabama in the first round of the college football playoff. Give me your top of mind reactions.
Yeah, Joe. Went into this day thinking, will it be Notre Dame? Will it be Miami? I don't know about you, but I thought for sure that it wasn't going to be Alabama again. I thought, getting walloped like they did by Georgia in the SEC title game, that they would for sure move down at least a spot. I think I had them at 10 in our predictions that we did last night. So I, for one, was shocked, along with a lot of other people, I believe, when that Alabama graphic popped up on the screen right under Oklahoma's.
Yeah, I was also shocked. So when we sent in our predictions, I think I was the only one that didn't even have Alabama in the field, and it wasn't so much like what I thought should happen, but what I thought the committee might do. Um, and I think there's a case to be made either way. I don't think Alabama did themselves any favors though, and just how bad they looked against Georgia in the SEC title game. But it didn't end up mattering because Georgia stayed put, Alabama stayed put. It's like the game never happened. Basically, is you said when I said why'd they even play this? Obviously, it all comes down to money. But it's probably right that the Crimson Tide wasn't punished for losing an extra game. Um, but yeah, I was my biggest thing is I thought for sure it would have been too easy to slide them a spot for OU to either host Miami or Notre Dame. It ended up being Miami, obviously, is the team that got in over Notre Dame. And then, I wrote about this. Just flip those two teams and have A&M play Alabama. They didn't play this year. They didn't play last year. It's been 2 years since those two teams have played. And then you get a pair of fresh matchups. The winner of the Alabama A&M game plays Ohio State, and the winner of OU Miami plays Indiana. That seems like a logical scenario, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And I sort of thought that that's what they would do. I think we wrote, both of us, earlier this week, that the most likely scenario, if Alabama would have won, OU would have went to College Station. Just avoid a rematch as much as possible, I think was what both of us were saying. So you mentioned it off top. People were shocked not only that Alabama even made the field after losing the way they did, but certainly setting up a second game in less than a month, and a third game in just over a year. Joe, I asked Brent Venables about it earlier today, and we can certainly get into that. But just what was your maybe first thoughts of seeing these two teams line up again?
Yeah, I was guilty of being like, oh man, Alabama, really? And then you have to check yourself because it's like it's OU Alabama in the college football playoff. Even though a rematch is a bit of a bummer, it's still, historic matchup. It's just one we've seen a lot recently, right? Like you said, third in the last 13 months. You know, obviously this whole thing started to turn in part with that huge win against Alabama last year that no one saw coming. And then the best win I think we could agree of Venable's tenure was at Alabama this season. Um, I think it's a super interesting game. I know we'll get to our predictions later, but it's a game that Alabama largely controlled, but OU is more opportunistic with the turnovers, and OU didn't turn it over themselves. They won in Tuscaloosa. Now they get the Crimson Tide in Norman. OU has really owned this series recently and historically. You look at it, I think they're what 5-2 or 5-2-1 against Alabama. Um, but yeah, what do you think as far as the on-field matchup?
Yeah, no, a couple things. You're right. Is there a team in the country that Alabama wants to beat more than Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Getting knocked, basically, Oklahoma knocked them out of the playoff last year when they uh, just got killed against a 6-7 team in Norman, and then obviously this year, handing them their second loss, ending the nation's longest home win streak. And you mentioned it, Alabama, I thought largely outplayed OU in that game. I think they had three turnovers, missed a field goal. Ty Simpson looked really, really good against the OU defense. So it'll be about, can they replicate that again? But I think somebody on the Zoom with Brent Venables today mentioned that he's 5-0 when he plays teams twice in the same year. I don't know how accurate that is, but um, it's hard to beat a Brent Venables team a defense when he's already seen you, he knows what you're going to run. So this is a fascinating one for me as well. Yeah, it's sort of a bummer that we've already seen this game. Would have loved to see Notre Dame or Miami and Norman. But when you sort of zoom out, two iconic brands, like you said, Alabama travels really well. Love the Friday night primetime game in Norman. So that's going to be exciting, Joe. What were your thoughts on the home game? Obviously, we sort of saw it pointing this way with the results yesterday, but just sort of stepping out. I mean, last year at this time, you and I were down in Fort Worth for the Armed Forces Bowl, and now, here in 2 weeks, we're gonna be at a home playoff game in Norman.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. And, we said it after the LSU game. You can complain about the offense as much as you want and, whine here and there, but OU's in the freaking college football playoff. That's the bottom line. And they're not only in, they're hosting. Um, so yeah, no surprise that the Sooners wound up in that number 8 spot. No surprise that they're hosting. But again, I'm watching the show and Alabama's graphic pops up and I'm like, what? I just wasn't even considering the possibility. Not that like it wasn't reasonable given where the seeds were, but just I
Right.
thought they would avoid the rematch because would have been so easy to. And I was almost set on OU Notre Dame. And then Notre Dame doesn't even get in. So now they're opting out of a bowl completely. They're taking their ball and they're going home. Are the Fighting Irish? But yeah, it's a huge deal for OU um, to to host this game. I mean, from like a revenue standpoint, from an exposure standpoint, from a city of Norman standpoint, to have all the Alabama fans that are probably going to come to town, even though they were just here. I don't think you can like understate all of that and what it means to the program.
Yeah, especially just with the way the program was going. Year one under Brent Venables, you finished 6-7. You have a bounce back year, win 10 games the next year. And then last year, you and I sat through most of those games where they finished 6-7 again, lose to Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. So I just think from that perspective, when you put all of that, yes, the offense is struggling. Yes, they lost to Texas again. Brent Venables is 1-3 against the Longhorns. But when you zoom out, I think you and I picked them to win 8 or 9 games. They're 10-2 and they're hosting a playoff game. But back to some on-field stuff, Joe. Talked to Brent Venables today, and he told us Gentry Williams won't play. Underwent shoulder surgery. He hasn't played since that South Carolina game, and we know he's been dealing with shoulder issues on and off the past several seasons. So feel for him, but also Brent Venables is unsure whether R. Mason Thomas or starting center Jake Michaela will play. R. Mason obviously injured the quad in that 71-yard fumble return for a touchdown against Tennessee. Michaela was in the hospital last week with infections, didn't play against LSU. Joe, obviously the amount of time off, we probably think Michaela might be back. This might be enough time for our Mason to get back. We don't know yet, but how big from a team perspective will this time off be? One, and two, getting guys like R. Mason and Jake Michael potentially back, and also time for John Mateer in this offense to sort of get things rolling again.
Yeah, I think the last part you said is the most important. Like, obviously, you want Michaela and R. Mason to be back, but the most important thing is to the extent that John Mateer was still kind of suffering through, this injury. He's been adamant that it hasn't bothered him, but just logic would tell you that it would almost have to. I think this time off, not only for like a physical reset for him, but a mental one as well. Like he has had immense pressure under him, and it hasn't always been pretty, but he got OU, he helped get OU to this point. Um, so now just being able to sort of catch his breath, I think it's going to be as important as where he's at physically. So he is like, if I was like ranking Sooners who are going to benefit the most from this break, I think Mateer would be number one. But you do hope it's long enough to get some of the rest of the guys back, particularly the two you mentioned. R. Mason Thomas just feels like the ultimate luxury at this point because the Sooners are so good on the defensive line. They can rush the passer even without R. Mason Thomas, which is like crazy to say, but he just makes that group that much more deep.
Yeah, and obviously he didn't play in the first matchup against Alabama, so that'd be a little bit of a different look for them. But yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I think John Mateer's sort of been the talk of the town, as you'd say, the last couple of weeks, just coming off that LSU performance, coming off some of the questions that he and Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle were asked after that game. Joe, where are you sort of at on Mateer? And now that we have a body of work, 12 regular season games, well, less than that since he missed a game with the hand injury, but sort of where are you at on this on the OU's quarterback situation, John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, and what you need to see from them to improve against Alabama?
Is it fair to say I still don't know? Because
I'm with you. I'm with you there.
I I don't have strong opinions about this either way. I mean, part of it is I think I was too quick to like anoint John Mateer as the savior and Ben Arbuckle. So at the same time, I don't want to be too quick to say these guys don't have it. Um, so it's somewhere in between. And it's honestly been closer to the latter, deeper into the season. But I think this, if we talk again, I don't want to overshadow the upcoming playoff matchup too much, but as far as like is OU could they look at a new quarterback in the portal or try to bring someone in? I think John Mateer is going to answer that himself. Like how the offense looks, how he looks in a round one matchup. If the offense looks totally overwhelmed and continues to just be stuck in the mud, then yeah, I think you have to have hard questions. But if they somehow can find their rhythm, which I think has been like the buzzword inside those OU football offices, then maybe it looks different. Everyone feels better and more confident about it heading into next year.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think I'm with you. I feel like, and this is just me theorizing, but especially the last several weeks, it's maybe been more mental than physical. I mean, obviously logic, like you said, would say that the hand might still be healing. Certainly this month will be, or this next couple of weeks will be huge for that. But to me, the last couple of games, especially whether it's, getting happy feet in the pocket, trying to
Hmm.
take off, missing reads, being a little bit inaccurate. Um, and he's had some quotes that maybe would the last couple of weeks that would maybe point to this being maybe on the mental side. I know his very first quote to us ever when he first arrived in the spring was, "Man, that's a lot of cameras." Like this guy has not played in front of the types of crowds that he's played in over the past month, ever dating back to playing at Washington State and certainly being under recruited in high school. So you got to think that this year's been a lot for him to deal with, not only the injury, but just playing at this level.
Colton, we talked to Brent Venables for a bit. He had a teleconference after the announcement, and you mentioned some of the injuries, but Brent was a little chippy, like a little as in chip on the shoulder, and he was even asked about that. And listen, every
He
team is
asked
going
us
to
about that.
he shout out James Hale for being the only one willing to answer. Um, I was like half listening at that point, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And I think it was Chris Vanini from the Athletic who asked the question, and then didn't say anything. But Brent was like, "No, I'm asking the questions." Anyway, this Sooner team is going to be motivated. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes, yes, there seems to be, and I think it's true, and Brent Venables obviously pays attention, but there seems to be this narrative that OU might be, lesser than some other teams in the field, or less deserving, I should say. I know it's sort of been a narrative all season long. I mean, OU, I think the win total for them preseason was like 7.5 or 6.5 or something like
I
that.
think it
So
was 6.5.
yeah, 6.5. So they've obviously overcome a lot of negativity and Brent was the first to point that out today that this team has sort of insulated itself from the outside noise and especially following those losses to Texas and Ole Miss where it looked like and I believe we talked about it on some post game pods. It was going to be hard for them to get one or two more wins the rest of the season and yet they go undefeated over the last month and here they are. So. I believe back against the wall is sort of the
Hmm.
the way to describe this, Joe.
Yes, hard to kill, back against the wall. They got a lot of sayings. So All right. Well, we're going to be able to preview this matchup more, and we're going to be out there uh, for all the interviews and such. But your instant judgment here, Colton. What's your feel on this game, OU Alabama?
Yeah, I don't mean to go back on stuff I was saying all last week, but if you had asked me last week, I was saying if OU and Alabama met again, then it'd probably be an Alabama blowout. But after watching that SEC championship game, Joe, didn't love what I saw from the Tide, especially in the run game. I think they finished with minus yardage on the ground. Both offenses are struggling. Um, OU's at home, so I'm going to give the edge to OU, especially since Brent Venables knows this offense he's going against very well, having played them 3 times in 13 months, like we've talked about. So my instant gut reaction on this Sunday, December 7th, is that OU wins a one-score game at home, but don't feel good about it.
I am also picking a one-score game. I'm going the other way though. I said 21-16 Alabama. So we both think it's going to be in a similar scoring range. And talk about not feel good about a prediction. I've been wrong about the Sooners all season. So OU is probably going to win this one. But I'm going Alabama just because you take out the turnovers, which can fluctuate almost. I don't want to say it's all luck, but there's some randomness when it comes to turnovers. And that was just huge in OU's win in Tuscaloosa. If that evens out a little bit, Alabama did, like I said, control a lot of that game. And this is bad analysis, but beating a team twice in one season's hard. Beating a team 3 times in basically 13 months is hard, especially when that team's Alabama. Both teams are going to be super motivated, though, so maybe that doesn't matter. But I'm with you. I don't feel good about this because Georgia's defense is basically middle of the road
Mhm.
SEC, and Alabama could do nothing offensively in that game. So what's going to happen when they play on the road against the best defense in the SEC? Um, but again, I think it's going to be low scoring, but I'm very slightly going with Alabama. Colton, who you got in the national title game?
Yeah, and just to add to that, Joe, I mean, Alabama missed a field goal and lost by
Yeah,
2 and turned the ball over 3 times, and OU didn't turn it over at all. So I'm with you there. If that flips, you feel good if you're Alabama. But college football playoff national championship, I'm gonna go with Ohio State. I think they're just still, even despite losing to Indiana last night, I still think they're the most talented team in the country. I still think they're probably uh, you know, the best built team in the country. And I'm gonna go with, a repeat of last year. Last year Ohio State lost to Michigan 13-10. This year they lose to Indiana 13-10. Last year they go all the way, win it all. I see that happening again. I see Ryan Day winning his second national title. How about you, Joe?
I am also going with the Buckeyes. We see this one the same. Um, I don't think the loss is, maybe it's going to be good for them again to sort of be even more motivated because sometimes great teams need that. But listen, Indiana's legit.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if they could run the table here. Just what a story. But I'm gonna go Ohio State over Texas Tech because that'd be crazy, right? Texas Tech in the national championship. We saw it in basketball not too long ago. Now it could happen in football. I think the Red Raiders are legit, but I still think Ohio State's got the best all around team.
Yep, for sure, no doubt. And I'll just add, I think despite me picking OU to win their first game, I don't see them beating Sigs out there at the Rose Bowl.
What a matchup that would be. Sig and Venables, man, they talk about some chippiness going on between those two guys.
Joe, just
Um,
get me to the Rose Bowl. Just get me to the Rose Bowl.
I
I don't care
know.
what it takes.
I know. We were a little behind the scenes. We already have our trips booked, and that is by no means to jinx the Sooners. It's just you got to get out ahead of these things. So, if OU makes the Rose Bowl, a huge if, we will be there, but we will most certainly be in Norman before that on December the 19th, a Friday night. OU's got the whole slate to themselves, everyone else is playing on Saturday, but all eyes will be on Norman Friday, December 19th, and we will be there to cover it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Sooners Extra podcast, and we'll be back with you soon.